Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of Midweek Matters. I'm your host, James Graham, joined by Charlie White, or as he is now known as, the Prince of Paddington.
Not known as that. You've called me that. Is it true? I'm not sure. Am I the Prince of Paddington?
That's what you introduced yourself as.
That's not true. I know you said that on radio.
It has been confirmed.
And like Danny Wilder actually called me about it and said, is this true that you call yourself the Prince of Paddington? Not true. Not true.
But why would Danny Wilder call you up to confirm that?
He was going to put it in his collar. No. So I got confused then. He asked Siobhan if it was true, my girlfriend. Yeah, not true.
You've been name dropping yourself in Magic Round as the Prince of Paddington. I forgot to bring it up last week.
Paddington, Brisbane or Paddington, Sydney?
Sorry,
maybe I'm Prince of both.
In Brisbane at
Brisbane,
Magic
Sydney,
Round. You were
mate.
in a bit of a corporate area and introducing yourself as the Prince of Paddington.
Yeah, not true.
There has been
not true.
Confirmed sources, spottings.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised you weren't there, were you?
No.
So you're just trusting what some.
Okay, so when anybody does their like spotted section, just because you weren't there, I mean, I'm getting reliable information here.
From who's your source? You can't reveal your source. Exactly. If it was someone
just like when you start on your TikTok advert, we can't reveal the sources.
Yeah, I'm not going to do friends favors anymore. I've decided. You know, speaking of TikTok, I live with the guy who did the TikTok, Jordan Weir. We've got this lady in our apartment building. I don't know if I can talk about this. Oh, I'll talk about it anyway. This lady in the apartment building, and they must have recently moved in. The sounds that are coming from that apartment are like nothing you've ever heard in your life. It's like, sounds like sexual sounds from this woman, and it sounds like she's getting murdered but enjoying it. It's like the loudest screaming I've ever heard, ever. And the whole apartment building has heard it. And like, you can hear it. I don't know which apartment it is. Like, would like to find out who it is just so we can know what the person looks like that's doing this stuff. But
all you know is somebody's moved in. You don't know. You've not seen their face.
I've not seen them move in either. I just know that it's a new thing that's happened. So they've come into the building, and it's insane. And it's like it's kind of quite rude, I think, to be that loud. You know, like it's Monday morning, it woke me up. This is how loud it is. Monday morning was my alarm clock.
What's going on in the morning?
Monday morning it was last night. It's hilarious as well to hear. Like if you
just wake up with a big smile and you listen to that.
What a way to wake up.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Maybe you should put in a noise complaint.
But then that's also a bit like, I don't want to make the girl feel bad as well. The only thing I do want to make sure happens is I want to talk about it with other members of the apartment building, so people don't think it's Siobhan making that noise.
Oh,
you never. Have you heard that?
Everybody's
have you been hearing that noise?
Everyone's
lately?
playing a bit like,
who is it?
Who is it? Who am I? Who's the?
And there's a young family that live underneath us, and they've got like young kids and stuff. So I definitely want to talk to them about it, so that they don't think it's us making that noise.
Would it matter if they thought it was you, but it's not actually you?
Yeah, it would matter.
That a bit of
it would matter
insecurity?
No, you don't want this loud. This noise is so loud. It's like cringe. It would be the cringiest thing ever.
Maybe you should make a noise complaint or knock on and just say, "Excuse me." I think that's the. Do you know that I had a noise complaint against me once?
What for?
Moved into a new bought a house in a suburb of Sydney. It was summer. Literally the first night, sleeping on the mattress. We had the air conditioning on, right? As you do. For a lot of people through Sydney. The doorbell went at about 5 a.m. And I was like, what on earth? Like literally, this is the first or second night in there. New surroundings, thinking like, what is going on? Who's at the door at this time? And like, it was one of the neighbors, and they're like, I'm so disorientated. It was like it was a funny designed house. So I'm up on the intercom to be like, what's going on? They're like, you've had your air conditioning on all night, so we thought you've had us up all night. We thought we'd wake you up.
No,
and I swear to God. And apparently, like, never met them, never got introduced to them. Apparently, the air conditioning unit was close to their house, and there's actually rules and regulations around when you're allowed your air conditioning on and not.
What?
I swear, because I looked into it, because I was about to go. I was like,
I'm gonna have this on all day, every day. For the rest
I'm just
of the time
I'm just gonna put it
it's
on.
gonna be on.
But I was like, what a way to introduce yourself.
I know. But also, that's just white noise. The air conditioning. Like, if you can't sleep through that,
it wasn't that loud. I know. But also, surely you just go, you know what? We'll go knock on and we'll say, look, you would have saw the removal truck come in. You would have known the house was for sale. You would have surely just go, you know what? We'll just knock on and we'll just say, look, just letting you know, like, the air conditioning unit's quite loud. It's close to the bedroom. The actual rules are like this. It actually,
and not at 5 a.m. Do it like at 8 a.m.
Exactly.
It's like a reasonable time.
I just was like, what a. So from that moment on, it was just like, nah.
There's so many people in my area that are like those, like, what are you doing sort of stuff. Like, we were just removing a piece of furniture from our house the other day, like an old desk, and they like followed us to see where we were putting it. I was like, what is going on here? This weird, like, middle-aged lady like following us to make sure we weren't just like dumping on the street somewhere. And it's like, well, we organised a council pickup, and it's none of your fucking business. So go the fuck back inside now.
There's a lot of like self-policing. It's basically how they look to ensure the COVID rules were
being followed.
Like
anyone had a party or gathering, police would be called.
We'll dob in on and basically trying to grasp people up.
Yeah, Australia's a bit of that society as well, isn't it? That sort of grass on each other's society. We're not like the French where like we'll look,
anti-authority.
Anti-authority.
See, like in Liverpool, where I'm from, like it's very anti-authoritarian. Good. Like you would never, like it's a bit of a, you don't snitch on your neighbours. But there's still a few that like peek through, what's going on over there?
We're like the NIMBY nanny states. But anyway.
Interesting. One of my big issues with Sydney, there's a couple of cafes I've been frequenting asking for eggs on toast at, say, 11:10. Sorry, can't do it.
Yeah, I hate that. It's like you've got it there. You've got the eggs there, you've got the bread.
Nobody can ever explain to me, or has explained to me, in a constructive manner that changes the argument about why a cafe at 11 o'clock on the dot ceases to do the breakfast menu, and more specifically something as simple as scrambled eggs on toast, when on your menu you would have a club sandwich that features bacon and an egg,
or a salad with boiled eggs on.
Yes,
eggs are still available.
Eggs are still available, just not in the scrambled form on toast.
Also, I feel like breakfast is where they'd make their biggest markups as well. Like breakfast is so cheap. You eat it at home. You have 3 scrambled eggs, a couple of pieces of toast, maybe avocado if you're feeling fancy, and you've probably spent like $3 on that.
Yeah.
Whereas you go to a restaurant, it's like cafe, it's like $23 for that these days.
Yeah. So for those cafes that have no maneuvering, I mean, if it's a chain and they've got their rules and it's the breakfast menu is till 10:30, whatever. You're a chain. You're working for the boss, who cares? But if you're a cafe, like an independent cafe, which most in Sydney are, you know what? Just go, yeah, mate, you know what? I'll do you some eggs.
Do you then, out of like pity, or not pity, out of spite, would you then say, no, I don't want anything? Or are you then ordering something off the menu? You fall into their trap that they're creating of forcing you to consume their lunch
menu. Yeah. I just accept it.
Nah, stop accepting it. Stop accepting it. You're part of the problem. Be the change, not the problem.
Okay. Well, maybe that's something to consider.
Big news though, Jimmy.
James is. Yes.
Las Vegas.
It is. Forget your scrambled eggs in Sydney. Forget you grassing on each other. We're going to Sin City. Again, we knew it was back. The Bulldogs v the Dragons. Wow. Like 2 huge clubs. The Bulldogs are just going to completely take over. I know Dragons fans will be out as well to try and outnumber them. There's been a huge appetite, and I can see this being bigger and better than any other year before, just because of these traveling fans. Like, I think year 3 is perfect because there's a sense of we've missed out on previous years. There's a sense of, I've missed out. I've missed out in terms of the whole experience. When my team gets almost a bit of a, I don't quite know. Let's test the waters. But for Bulldogs, Dragons fans, Cowboys and Newcastle fans, there's now, we know it's going to be huge. We know it's going to be great. Like, my team is now there and involved. Let's get on that plane. Like, it's going to be outstanding. Leeds versus Hull KR as well. Look, personally, I was hoping for St Helens to be there. Leeds, I mean, look, their team's got the better of me in a number of occasions. Hull KR will be well supported and they're flying at the minute. So it promises to bring, and look, Hull KR and Leeds will travel. So look, Wigan and Warrington, two of the big clubs in England, you're going to get that atmosphere of an English Super League game as well. But on top of the Bulldogs, Dragons, Cowboys generally travel well nights. I mean, I guess we'll see. They're struggling a little bit this year, but it promises to be another amazing event. Look, I'm not going to put it in there. I can't wait for this category just yet because I feel as though there's still molecules of Las Vegas still in the system that probably just need to flush out and then be ready to go again.
Yep.
Get that post-Christmas, post-end of summer vibe. Season's about to kick off 2026. Oh, how good will that be?
It's going to be amazing. Leeds Rhinos, how are they going at the moment? They're not one of the top clubs anymore, are they?
They've not been in and around the winner's circle for some time, but they're still...
Because they were my team growing up. Love them.
Yeah.
Love the Leeds
Rhinos.
Rhinos.
Well, I can tell by your knowledge of where they're currently at that you're a big Leeds Rhinos
Loved them
fan.
growing up. I'm not growing up anymore. I've grown.
Yeah, you've grown. Yes, most definitely.
Isn't Johnny Bairstow, is he a big Leeds man, or who does he support?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure?
I don't know. I don't know
who Johnny Bairstow is.
Cricketers, sporting teams, especially rugby league teams.
It is the James Graham Cup, though. Dogs v the Dragons. It would be great if we could do some sort of competition with Dogs fans v Dragons fans. And maybe we give away like a trip to Vegas for one Dogs fan,
just give them
one
a trip
Dragons
to
thing.
Just
if the NRL is interested in maybe partnering up on that, we're happy to drive it. James Graham Cup.
Yeah. What are the buy round putting up? Like,
what are we putting up?
For a trip to Vegas.
Dinner in Vegas. That's a great idea,
just go for dinner.
Go for dinner.
Yeah.
Jimmy shout.
Yeah.
We'll go somewhere nice.
Are we covering the flights, accommodation, match tickets?
A company will cover that.
Company.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a tour. Maybe we'll do a buy round tour. Or tour, however you say tour these days.
Interesting proposition, Charlie. I'm glad we're having this discussion on the podcast and not off the air in terms of our business strategy for Vegas 2026. But right. I like it. I like your thought process.
Well, let's start looking ahead to Vegas 2027 because maybe the Perth Bears are going to be there, Jimmy. Who knows? It would be a big call by the NRL to sell the Perth Bears there in 27. But
just back to Vegas quickly. Obviously, I wonder if, with respect to Newcastle and Cowboys fans, if they're going to be supplementing, if they're in because they know the Bulldogs and Dragons will travel and travel well. If you think of Newcastle, they've got to come down to Sydney to then go. And then obviously the Cowboys, they've probably going to have to get to Brisbane to get
big
to
cost,
America.
Isn't it? It's a big cost to go from Townsville, go there.
Like if you're is Townsville international? I don't.
You're asking the wrong man.
No,
I've been to Townsville twice in my life.
Yeah.
Just on domestic.
I think they'd have to, well, either way, I think they'd have to get down to Brisbane and then
probably
to the States.
Yeah.
But
or fly to Perth, maybe, I don't know.
Travel for those regional areas of North Queensland, it's par for the course of everyday life. So
I think Dogs fans will travel really well. It'll be good to see Dragons fans look at what Dogs fans are going to do because they'll go in numbers and go, nah, we're going to be the loudest ones
you've
there.
Got to try and if you're a Dragons fan, you've got to try and outnumber the Dogs.
Yep. Back to 2027 though, because there's been a little bit of a development since we last did a show with the Perth Bears. Now it looks like Mal Meninga might be in the hunt for the Bears job. So it's become a race in three, Jimmy. Your man, Sammy Burgess, Mal Meninga, and Brad Arthur's still got his nose in front at the moment.
Yeah, look, when a story like this is unfolding publicly, usually the media are pretty on the money. So, look, I think there's some strong candidates outside of those three, but for the purposes of today and what we've seen from the being reported in the media, I think it is that 3-horse race. And the more I think about what Perth Bears need in terms of their head coach, it is more personality and recruitment. The Meninga news, I guess it was one of those, like he's obviously got the Ashes at the end of this year, a World Cup in 26. He'd likely have to give up the job for the Kangaroos for that World Cup, which would put them in a predicament to find a new coach straight away. I don't think he could plan. Oh,
he maybe could.
The only thing though, Charlie, is I imagine that World Cup would run in to November, meaning the start time for Perth would be, you'd have to have someone assume that role, which.
Yeah. Oh, I think he'd give it away. I think the talk is that he potentially would give it away anyway.
Well, it's a big thing to ask him to walk away from.
Yeah.
Like he's done a lot of work behind the scenes.
Mal wants it though. Mal's the one who's put himself forward for this.
Yeah, I don't know if mate, he's put a lot of work into the Kangaroos to try and get them back on the map.
Yeah.
So look, yeah, I understand it. I do understand his appetite for that job because there's obviously not many of them, and he'd be like, what a figurehead, what a pin-up person. Like obviously, friends in the media. He works as part of the team at Fox, so that would help him. Like in terms of attraction power, like people love Mal Meninga. He's such a well-known name, which I think like I say, the more I think about it, the more important the name is than actual coaching and familiarity with different scenarios and situations that are going to pop up along the way, which would put out of those three, Brad Arthur likely ahead in terms of his experience coaching in the NRL. But where Sam and Mal have the advantage is their recruitment and the attention that they would bring. There is talk of like a Sam as the understudy of Mal Meninga. I don't know if they've worked closely before. I think they would look. On first hearing that news, my initial reaction was, I think they get in each other's way.
Yeah,
they're both too big a personalities to be complementing one another. I think Mal is a head coach and Sam is a head coach. I can't see Sam coming back to be an assistant.
No, and I don't think he would, to be honest.
No.
Like I think Reedy was the one who threw it up, Brent Reed. But you think about Sam Burgess, he didn't go very well being underneath Jason Demetrio. He probably has got his eye on, if it's not the Bears job, he's probably almost a lock to get the Bunnies job because everyone thinks that Wayne's going to go to the PNG franchise when that comes up.
That seems to be how the stars will align.
Yeah. So if I'm Sam, I'm like, all right, you don't want me to go with Mal Meninga, that's cool. I'm going to stay here in England, just keep getting more experience. Yeah. He's now in the Challenge Cup final as well. Warrington made the Challenge Cup final, which is massive. So I reckon he'd be more either, hopefully get the Bears job, but if not, I'll go the Bunnies.
Yeah, I think that would be the natural step.
The other thing on Sam that might not play in his favour for the Perth Bears job is a little bit of his checkered history, given that the Perth media is not necessarily on the Bears side. You've got it's a Channel 7 dominated state as far as media goes. They're gonna hang shit on the NRL for coming there. It's going to be a negative. The Bears going to cop a lot of negativity from 7 West media, and then Sam's history, they would focus on that. Yeah, and be like rugby league's coming to town. This game with all this drama and this and that. Like I think the NRL might avoid it because of that reason.
Look, I understand your point, but at the end of the day, like, what is Sam like? It's what Sam actually done wrong. Like,
it doesn't matter whether he's found innocent or not. It's still all mud that just will get thrown.
It's mud that gets thrown and mud sticks. But at the end of the day, Sam's done nothing wrong in my eyes.
Yeah,
like there's like, and again, my apologies if I'm just thinking as a friend and I've missed anything, but. There's nothing wrong in terms of my eyes of what he's done. There's allegations and there's rumor and there's innuendo and there's stories, but like proven in a court of law, I don't think there's anything that stands up. But also, I guess this battle that we're going to have, like the Jamin Salmon where he points to the badge and he says, "We good." If I'm the Perth Bears, I'm walking into town going, "Bad news, Bears!
Yeah.
Bad news, Bears!" Like, bring it on. And like, you've created that headline. Let's run with it. You want to call us the Bad News Bears? call us the bad news bears.
Yeah.
And just play it like that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not the ideal tactic. And like the Sydney media now for our NRL clubs, we're not entirely friendly with all the clubs.
No, of course
we're
not.
friendly to all, like the media is supportive of the game. It still comes under criticism at times. But in terms of going over to Perth and them labelling us the bad news bears and this, I guess, this media wars, if however you want to frame it, or the code wars, I say bring it on. Like I think you should just embrace the tag of the bad news bears. And then, you know, I remember the basketball documentary about Bad Boys,
Detroit Pistons.
Yeah. And they just embraced that tag of everybody hating them.
Yeah.
And they were that was their identity. And look, I think if you've got the bad news bears and you've got Sam as the coach, then this is who we are.
It works well. It adds that cool factor, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you keep saying bad news bears. Mate, that's catchy. That's ringy. You get that around. I want to go and see this bad news bear. Like, what's this bad news bears all about?
Yeah.
Like, I think bring it on. Like, embrace that tag. It could be the ultimate compliment.
Yeah. I like it. I personally, if it was my call, I'd be picking Sam Burgess because I think his charisma will drive so much and he'll be able to bring players in. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. I think, look, if I was put friendships aside, he'd be my choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did actually contact him about coming on the show. Like you said, can you see if he comes on for a chat? He said no.
Cool. Well, I don't want him to get the job. Then Mum should get the job.
He said, I'm too scared to face the tough questions, Jammer. I know you're going to grill me on it. So
yeah. Well, we're Team Mal now.
Yeah, Team Mal.
Team Mal all the way. Brad Arthur. Go Brad Arthur. You got it. Origin, Jimmy. Bit of speculation now about who's going to get picked, obviously. Team comes out Sunday for New South Wales, Monday for Queensland. The big one for Queensland is the DC dilemma, and we'll talk about the game later. It's the Cowboys against Manly Seagulls, potentially the battle for the 7 with Dearden playing in number 7 as well.
You couldn't have asked for a better fixture.
Oh, it's perfect.
Obviously, the draw has some thrown up some strange games at strange times, and they've missed some opportunities. And there's some teams, again, I think there's some teams playing each other. The Raiders play the Titans. I mean, what was that, a month ago they played each other?
Back again.
Not even. They're back again. But for this game, the Dearden v DCE with Origin selection on the Sunday evening, it's a big call to drop a legend like DCE. And you know, if Queensland lose game 1, that's what people are going to say. And as much as you want to pick on form or what's best for the team, you've got to know that there's a media fallout pre and post.
Yeah.
And you back yourself to win 100%. But
so you think they'll take the media fallout into the decision? So Billy doesn't want that extra pressure. We haven't picked DCE. We haven't picked our captain. We've gone a different route. He doesn't want that distraction.
It affects performance, though, media response. Because if you're Tommy Dean and you get picked for State of Origin, it's supposed to, and you're the number 7, it's supposed to be a huge celebration that he's the number 7.
But he's been in tough spots before. He came in for Munster when Munster was out for, was it game 3 and they won game 3?
Yeah, but that's him coming in, but there's no opposition to him coming in terms of the court of public opinion and and what's being said in the media.
But everyone's putting a line through Queensland because Munster was out at the time.
And that fuels, that is fuel for performance. That is fuel for going above and beyond. But what I feel as if what may happen if Dearden is picked, instead of this celebration, the focus would be on the dropping of DCE and just how that would play into the psyche of Dearden. And look, you back Slater and you back Dearden to navigate that onslaught of press. The Sydney press would run with that. Queens and drop their cap. You know they would.
I don't think they will because Buzz Rothfield is the one pushing for DC to get dropped.
And that's fine.
So that's the loudest voice in Sydney media is probably Buzz.
And that's fine for Buzz to say that. And maybe that's his opinion. And that's probably the opinion of a lot of people, that they feel Dearden should be the number 7 and DCE makes way. But that said, like just you can have that comment, but the actual ramifications of doing it is still going to mean that people are going to question Queensland's previous ethos of we pick and we stick and we navigate through tough times. Granted, they're coming off a series loss.
Well, that's where if DCE was a true Queenslander and a true, if Billy called him and said, mate, we need to say that you're going to pull yourself out. It looks better for you. If you're DCE, it looks better for him because it looks like he's sacrificed for his last year at Manly to try and, focus on clubland. And then it takes the pressure off Queensland as well of dropping DCE. It's like, well, he decided to pull out. We've got to go with Tom Dearden. We like him.
I think it's too close to Origin selection time to remove yourself. I think that ship has well and truly sailed, Charlie.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And also, if Dearden goes down, like there's some scraping of
Fogarty's in the third choice.
They're not scraping the barrel, but they go, geez, why did we have that?
That's where if you planned it though better, you could also then Billy could then be like, oh, well, DCE's now stepping up for his state. He was going to stand out, but now Dearden's out. We need him more.
He's done the Alfie Lang game. He's come back from Warrington.
Yeah.
I think had Ben Hunt not gone down to that hamstring injury and you could have had like Ben Hunt on the bench, I think Dearden will be the 14.
Apparently that's what's going to happen, yeah.
Yeah, I think Dearden will be the 14. Obviously, Harry Grant named in the reserves this week.
Expecting
him to play. So I think there's some definite utility value of Tommy Dearden being the 14. And I think I think it's the safer option. Personally, I think it's the safer option to stick with what you know of DC and Munster. Munster missed last year's series. Have that combination back together with Dearden on the bench at 14.
Yeah. I personally would love to see them drop DCE.
Why?
I reckon Dearden at this stage is in much better form than Day Cherry Evans. And DCE also was... How was he last year's series? He was great for them in game 1, but he wasn't that good in the other games.
Undoubtedly, in current form, DCE is not performing at the same level as Tommy Dearden.
Yeah.
I think Dearden is outperforming him, but clearly more goes into a selection than current form.
The other big one for Queensland will be interesting to see what they do with Lindsay Collins because he's named to play this week for the Roosters. I wonder if they'll stay loyal to him because you reckon he's definitely going to play for Queensland?
He'll play for Queensland.
Okay.
Mate, look, I've watched Lindsay Collins for a long time now, and that man is a special rugby league footballer. The positions he puts himself in. Why do you think he's out with his busted knee? Like, that's because he's putting himself in positions that he's not supposed to be in. And that's sometimes what you need from your footballers. Lindsay Collins, is as long as he gets through, he is a lock. I've got a lot of time for watching him play and how he applies his trade and those areas that he puts him in. If he's not stopping tries, he's always in the picture. Like his attention to detail, especially on last plays, for when defending last plays, it from a front rower is as good as I've seen. And that's what it might come down to. That last play, who's got their face in the frame, the number in the picture. Lindsay Collins, I guarantee you, anytime Roosters concede a try from a kick, he's coming back to try and help. He is phenomenal with his last play defensive duties, and it doesn't get any stat, it doesn't get any recognition. Every now and then it'll be like, oh, great stop from Lindsay Collins there. He has to play.
Yeah. Was it last year that play he had at the Adelaide Origin? It might have been last year. It was 2 years ago, where he leaped above. Was it Tedesco at the back?
Yeah,
and then flicked it in for the try.
Yeah, he does it.
That was maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah, he does it on attacking plays, but where it's at his best and unnoticed is defensively on last play. It's amazing.
So their pack's looking a lot stronger though this year because you got Tina Fasul-Malawi's back. Then in the middle, you're going to have probably Pat Carrigan and Ruben Cotter, do you think, in the front row?
I would imagine so, yeah.
And then their bench, I mean, you've also got guys like Gilbert, maybe he's on the edge. You've got Collins in there. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with all those positions.
I think Tino undoubtedly has to play. he'll be their biggest minutes player. I imagine just over Carrigan, and then you've got the help around him like your Gilberts.
Gilbert on the edge, I reckon.
Yeah, I'm still not sure where Gilbert's best position is. I personally, I think it's middle.
Yeah,
but I just don't think he's got the acceleration, especially with that knee injury. I don't think he's as quick off the mark as what you'd like your edge back rows to be, especially when you're defending that shift, and he might have to push off and go and get the next guy. I think, he might get caught out there on occasion where in the middle, just tell him to just go and work his balls off, and he'll do that for you till he drops dead.
On the other side of it, New South Wales, are you worried at all that they are going to pick 5 players from a team coming 16th? That's the Penrith Panthers, by the way.
Yeah, that's what, on paper, when you say it like that, you go, actually, Penrith aren't 16th. I don't subscribe to that.
Here we go, the bye. But they're 16th anyway. They're sitting 16th on the ladder.
They're sitting 16th on the ladder, but they've got the bye this week, but they're technically, so they're 3 wins, 6 losses, 1 draw. So they've got more wins. Well, they've got the same number of wins as the Dragons, who are 13th, plus the 1 point for the draw. So they're above them. So they're 13th. They've got the 13th best record as it currently stands. So, look, is that like, wow, they've gone from 16th to 13th? No big deal, but this is a team that, yes, they're 16th on the ladder, but they also won the last 4 premierships. So they know all about playing in big games, preparing for big games. I would not have an issue with that. And I think Cleary definitely, Yo definitely, Martin undoubtedly. Then you've got Edwards, most likely.
I reckon Edwards has come into that definitely category.
Yeah.
Just based on what you're hearing around, it sounds like they're going to go with Dylan Edwards.
The question mark is Toto. Because of the embarrassment of riches that New South Wales have in their backline.
Well, you got to have Stephen Crichton in the team in the centres. So that means
you know what though, Charlie? You can't say that about 6 outside backs, which people will do. Or you've got to have him in. Like, you've got to have Stephen Crichton in. No, you don't.
Yes, you do, though. You do have to have Stephen Crichton in.
I know I'd have him in my team, but you don't have to.
I think Stephen Crichton's become one of the first players picked, though, in that team now for Origin.
Yeah, well,
the question mark is we got 4 other spots, 2 wing spots, and 3 other spots, 2 wing spots and a centre spot. So on the wings, apparently Tom Trbojevic has got one of the wing spots, or he's going to get picked on the wing. So then you've got a centre spot, which.
So you're going to go Turbo, Crichton, one centre, Mitchell the other.
Do you reckon Mitchell the other? Latrell, Crichton, they're your centres?
Well.
Is that what you're saying?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool. And then you've got one wing spot for then, is it Lomax or Toto? Or maybe you don't pick Turbo.
Well, this is it. So, but if you go Turbo, Crichton, Mitchell, Lomax, you've got no genuine winger.
Yeah, well, I disagree. I think Lomax is a winger.
You think Lomax is? Yeah.
Lomax played every game on the wing last year, and he was back playing wing before he got injured as well.
This is the fascinating thing. Like, your best team on paper isn't your best team on grass. So that, in terms of star power of Turbo, Crichton, Mitchell, Lomax, or Toto instead of Lomax, like, that team on paper is like, wow.
Yeah.
But is it what's best for them? Is it the best team on grass? Which is what Laurie Daly can pick 3 New South Wales teams on paper, and they will all look appetizing. They will all be full of stars. But what is most important is how that team gel on grass and how that team go together on grass, and what the media fallout and what is supposed to be a celebration can be turned into, why is this player not playing?
So who would be your backline then? Forget fullback. I think you think Edwards is the fullback. I just want your wingers and centres.
I've got a bad feeling Turbo might miss out.
Wow.
No, just through his injury concerns. I don't know. When I've watched him play for Manly, he still looks like he's holding himself back, and he's not going after games like he once did, and he's not going after games with the level of intensity that he needs to perform in State of Origin based off what I've witnessed. I think he's in that Manly team at the moment purely because they feel they need him to be there as opposed to play well.
So he's not like exploding.
He's not exploding.
He's
into
not going
the contact.
full flight.
He's not. I look at him and I think he's holding back.
Yeah.
Not through him. He's not saving himself. He just looks like he's a little bit underdone. And whether it's the hamstring, the knee, the lower back, I think it's almost like he's running in a harness and someone's holding him back. I think we've seen this before where a couple of years ago he looked to chase someone and he just pulled out of the chase, and it was a clear sign that he wasn't quite fully fit. And I think we're seeing that same Tom, that the Manly are not putting the pressure on, but he feels that pressure or that need to contribute in some way, which is a credit to him to put his hand up and say, I'm just going to play, but not almost knowing you're not going to get me busy for 80 minutes. Yeah. I just can't.
The other one's his brother, and whether he gets picked.
I think Jake does get picked.
Based on your combo with Laurie?
Based off a few calculations and predictions that I've made and what, again, is needed for the team versus picking the best team. Because I think with the forwards, it's very important that you've got players that are, A, can play long minutes, but B, impactful and more willing to play less minutes, which Jake would be because what he did in the past. I think also as well, like that team on paper versus that team chemistry, I think Jake brings a lot in that department. That, again, you could look at the stat sheets and the form sheets of players that play in the middle and their contribution and how they affect the game. Jake isn't bringing as much of that, but he brings more to the group.
So what's your front row then? Have you, I imagine, or just your full forwards for New South Wales?
I would go Haas, Robson, Jake Trbojevic.
Yeah. Oh, Jake Trbojevic starting. Take the sting out of the first 25 like he did last year. Exact same role.
Yeah. Then you've got your edges of Martin and Crichton. Lock, Yo.
Yep.
Then your bench would be Connor Watson to cover all bases. I think then you have Young.
Yeah. Big Ola Kawatu, is he on there?
I think you got Watson, Young, and then the other front rowers.
Big Spence. You got to have Big Spence in there.
Lenu, absolutely.
And Mitch Barnett.
And Mitch Barnett is the final one. That's right. That's my Origin team. Yeah, Mitch Barnett.
So Ola Kawatu misses out in your team.
Yeah.
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 You can't fit them all in.
You can't.
There's going to be a really, really good player that misses out for game. I've said a few really good players that miss out game one for New South Wales.
He could pick two teams and there'd be superstars miss out. But that's how I would pick it. But that doesn't mean to say. And we've all got different. And even Laurie said, like, I've got different. We could ask every member of the public, and they pick different players. And you know that Barnett / Ola Kawatu on the bench, but that only leaves you with one genuine middle on the bench, and I think they'd likely need two. But a lot of the time they do go with two back rowers. But what we've seen in the past is where they play one of those in the middle, or with the utility they come on as a middle. Like Watson could assume that role, but if you've got two edge back rowers on the bench, like one of them isn't getting much game time, and that can naturally happen anyway. Like I say, you've got to have people that are either willing to come on and explode, and maybe that would lean in the favour of Ola Kawatu. Just say, look, mate, we need you on there for 15 minutes to go absolutely batshit crazy and cause destruction, and then we're going to bring you off. So the roles might be different. That that's what required for State of Origin. You may have to assume the role of, the forward that only gets limited time.
Fair enough, mate. Let's just quickly touch on this topic. Michael Chammas. We're going to be doing a podcast with him on Sunday.
Yes, we are.
Which is a great listen. It was a lot of fun. We did it today as well. Basically building the Bears salary cap.
No, building the Bears roster using the salary cap.
As a restriction. So we basically put together a realistic team for them. Top 30. You played the role of coach.
Yes.
Chammas football manager. And then I was CEO, overseeing the whole thing.
Self-nominated
CEO. I might make my job title Byron CEO.
I reckon if they need a football manager, Chammas could be the man. If they need a C-suite level executive, Charlie White, CEO.
Getting a Perth CEO. You don't need a Perth CEO. Bring someone from Sydney.
You could be the Sydney-based CEO for the Bears operation.
North Sydney Bears. Although we met the North Sydney Bears CEO the other day. He's a lovely fellow. I wouldn't want to take his job. Great guy. Gareth.
You would, you would take his job.
I would never do that.
But Chammas taken off.
Taken off there on Channel 9. He was meant to be on his 100% footy show on Channel 9. He was part of the panel there. But then Mitch Moses was going to come on. And Mitch just said, if Chammas is on, I'm not coming on. Whether Mitch said that or Isaac Moses, his manager, said that, I'm not 100% sure. And then Chammas was taken off the show and replaced by Danny Weidler so that Mitch could go on the show.
Look, it depends on how it's framed, because it's probably not uncommon for people to appear on television shows and say, look, I'd rather that person not be there or not be on with that person. Like, I understand it. I think it's likely been blown out of proportion. And listening to Chammas' comments on the Triple M NRL Daily podcast, he just seemed pretty...
He was more... I think his unhappiness was more at Isaac Moses, because he felt like that was something that he orchestrated. I don't know. I think it's a bit ridiculous for Mitch and Isaac to ask for a journo to have off. Like, come on, put your big boy pants on. Whoever's on the panel, answer your questions. Come on. You're all adults. Grow up.
Yeah. I guess the thing that you would say, though, it wouldn't make for good TV if it's...
Wouldn't make for good TV. I reckon it make for great TV.
If there's awkwardness between two guests, then
there's tension.
Yeah, but it would just be... I reckon it'd be flat.
No, it wouldn't be.
Because Mitch Moses wouldn't blow up at Chammy on TV. He'd be too smart for that.
No,
but he'd just be like... There's no chemistry there, and there's no... Like, you don't get the best out of Mitch. You don't get the best out of Chammy.
But chemistry doesn't necessarily mean you like each other. Like, they might have chemistry in a negative way.
Yeah.
Like the two of them are sort of similar personalities, similar fellas. I think they'd get along quite well.
Yeah, maybe they would. But I mean, yeah. Honestly, for me, it's a bit of a non-story. I mean,
so you, as a player, you'd go along and be like, "Oh, I don't want to talk to this person. I don't want to talk to this person." Like, come on, grow up. You're a football player in a public eye. Grow up. You need to grow up.
Not me personally. I'd even sit with Fitzsimons. In fact, I'd love to sit with him and hash it out. Yeah, look, I mean, for Mitch, like, whatever Chammas has said, it's likely not personal.
No, I think Chammas has broken a few stories over the years. I think one of them that got him offside last year was he broke that Mitch was openly talking about how he wasn't happy with management in the dressing sheds. Do you remember that story last year? I think it was after a game in Newcastle, maybe. Mitch wasn't happy about that, but yeah, to be honest, I get what you're saying. It's a non-story, but it's also like,
but again, like, really for Chammy to break that story, it's not personal.
No, exactly.
Like, it's not.
So why are they taking it personally?
I mean, I guess when you're a footballer, an athlete, you can do, and you think about what people are writing about you, and like, they have no right to write that story, or that's BS. I mean, I don't know.
They should have just said, "Mate, sweet Mitch, don't come on, don't come on." That's
obviously the danger is once you allow that control for one person, and people now find out about it, then there can be that controlling element.
Yeah, and Mitch can be a bit funny with media sometimes as well. Like, when things are going great, I think he really enjoys it, and then Parramatta aren't in the best spot at the moment. He's maybe feeling the pressure of that a little bit, so he's not wanting to do as much. He's wanting to. No, he doesn't want to come on and do it with Chammy there if he doesn't like Chammy.
It's interesting. So on Fox on Saturday, Adam Reynolds was on the panel, and Cooper Cronk was on the panel, and Cooper Cronk's been openly critical of Adam Reynolds and not delivering that premiership for the Broncos, but like they seem fun. Like, do you know what I mean? I think that judging the two, if you were to go side by side, I'd say, considering the length of a Super Saturday, like that's way more awkward than if Mitchell Moses had gone on Channel 9 100% footy with Michael Chammas. But I honestly, I wouldn't have even known that there was any sort of beef there.
No, but now everyone knows that.
But now everyone knows. It's like
that. And I think, I don't know if it's Mitch's manager's fault or Mitch's fault.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who's at blame here. But anyway, we'll move on, mate. We'll move on. Preview the round because it's a great round of footy. Starts on Thursday.
It starts on Thursday, Women's Origin, which is going to be a great game. Just unfortunate, it's Thursday night at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Like, I know it was the same situation in Brisbane. Would have loved to take in the family there, but
too late for you and the girls?
On a school night, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's a funny one. Man, I don't want to get negative about it. Allianz Stadium, the ticket sales haven't been great. So, well, it's maybe not negative, it's more positive. If you are a footy fan, try and get there. Forget about if it's a bit late. Yeah. It's an awesome stadium, Allianz Stadium. Tickets are going cheap. Get around it because
the girls deserve it with what they've produced on the field.
Yep.
And
it would be such an awesome spectacle if Allianz is packed. Yeah, such a loud stadium.
And they deserve the fans to come to it. Probably the main reason I'm not going is because I'm taking the family to the Bulldogs game on the Friday because there's a captain's event on there, a former captain's event on there that I've been invited to, which I'm obviously going to attend, and the girls get to see me as who I once was, what all this fuss is all about.
Were they old enough to when you were playing or not really?
The eldest would remember being in England.
Yeah.
But not
really. It's kind of like dad's just going to play his local Sunday football match.
They think it's probably all the same. Like, you know, there's just like,
they're playing soccer now. They're probably like, this was the same thing.
It's the same. Like, we're the same. Yeah. Like, same level.
Same level.
They play, league tag, Oz tag. Yeah, it's the same level. I do exactly what dad did.
And dad carries on talks about it all day on television.
He just never shuts up. He's got all these photos in his office.
Yeah.
All these old jerseys. What's all that about? I don't put my jersey just goes in the drawer.
I put my trophies in the bin.
Yeah. But no, the Women's Origin, it deserves to be supported. They've done a fantastic job. It's built so strongly over the years. And it should be a great game. Yes.
New South Wales as well. They dominated Queensland through the middle. Do you think it's probably going to be the same again this time around?
At home, absolutely.
Yeah. So 2-0, New South Wales lift the shield. Then Friday, Jimmy, could be match of the round, you could argue, just because of the tension that's at play for this one. Knights against Parramatta. Kalen Ponga, last chance to lock in his fullback spot. By all accounts, he's got that fullback spot anyway. But then also, Lomax is back, 80 minutes to win his Origin jersey back.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The key Origin players that faced injury doubts going into Origin, they miraculously get back the week before. I say miraculously, it's about having something to aim for. I think with the Harry Grant, the Lomaxes, they've had this in their sights, and Lomax, knowing him, he's the ultimate professional that would have done everything to get back from this injury, to get himself in the frame to play State of Origin. So credit to him for that. This game, though, like Newcastle, I honestly think last week's loss to the Titans has put a line through them for playing playoffs. And I think they're now, instead of looking forward, they're looking over their shoulder. And they're looking over their shoulder at some of those teams near the bottom. And one of those teams is Parramatta. I can feel this game being a very nervous game for both teams. I think Parramatta, knowing it's their last real game with a fully focused Mitch Moses for a 6 to 8 week period with State of Origin around the corner. We all saw what Parramatta were like without Mitchell Moses at the start of this season, which is like two different teams. I think because of that fact, and because Mitch knows that this is his last proper crack at playing for Para without the, I guess, hangover or fatigue of Origin, I think they get this game. For me, Newcastle, after that win against South, had a perfect opportunity to go on the run. They've got a more appealing run of fixtures in the next couple of weeks, but they blew their chance against the Titans, like blew it. And I just think now there'll be a nervous football team playing Parramatta. That'll be, look, Parramatta, they can only look one way, and that is ahead. And they'll look at Newcastle as a scalp to stop them getting 4 points ahead of them on the ladder. So I think Newcastle, unfortunately, just what could have been. Had they won last week, I would have had them in the box seat. But I just think they're going to be too nervous, and Para with Moses, a motivated Moses, will get the job done.
Then Friday night, the late game, Dogs Chooks, you're going to be at that game. Did you say you're going to be at an event for that game?
Yes, they've got Bulldogs are honouring a number of their former captains on the pitch, which I'm very privileged to be a part of that club.
Do you know much about Luke Smith, who's making his debut?
No, I don't actually. I really don't, but it's a big honour for the lad, and looking for, like, the Bulldogs have unearthed some stars and some great players the past couple of seasons. Someone like Harry Hayes springs to mind, Bailey Hayward. So if he can follow in their footsteps, he should be a great player for the club.
But you like the Dogs, I'm guessing.
Can I be honest? I'm a bit nervous about this game.
Yeah. Can I be honest as well? You lied on Monday's show and said you tipped the Dogs. You're a liar. You tipped the Raiders.
Did I? I thought
you
I said
did,
Raiders.
Because I listened back to it and I thought,
did you?
Yeah, because Cheese let you off from it. He was like, "Oh, didn't you tip the Raiders?"
Yeah,
and you were like, "No, I didn't."
Mate.
And then she was like, "Oh, sorry," and then you just moved on. But no, you tipped the Raiders, didn't you?
Yeah, maybe I did. I can't remember. I remember saying they'd be favourites.
At least you're being honest now and tipping what you think will happen. You've lost a bit of faith in the Dogs, clearly, and that's all right.
No, I just know these Roosters have a good record against the Dogs.
So you're tipping the Dogs? Are you tipping the Dogs or the Roosters?
Well, hear me out. I'm talking about the game before I reveal my tip.
Go on then.
I just think that the Roosters, again, pre-Origin, Crichton will be in the mix. Watson will be in the mix.
Lindsay Collins
in the mix. They sometimes look at these games and go like, yeah, one last push. Keep them in touching distance. That's the motivator for the Roosters. I think the Dogs will win. They've still got like you say, they're giving debut jerseys out. So it's going to be difficult. I don't think this is as clear cut as what people are assuming they be. I had a little look at the odds on Ladbrokes before, and Dogs are heavy favourites, but I think it's going to be a lot closer. But I back the Dogs to just get it.
Then Saturday, I think this is actually, in terms of like entertainment value, match of the round, Dolphins against the Warriors.
Yes,
going to be a high scoring game. It's going to be a lot of fun. James Fisher-Harris is back.
How good's that? Like, that's a very quick turnaround from a pec injury.
Very quick.
Very quick.
Yeah.
He must have been doing absolutely everything, hyperbarics, all that sort of stuff to get that recovery happening very quickly. With him being back, I'm tipping the Warriors.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for that, I think the Dolphins, I reckon there'd be plenty of points in this, but I reckon that the Warriors should get the win thanks to James Fisher-Harris.
Pretty amazing that they're sitting where they are on the ladder. Sitting in second place with the injuries they've had. It's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. It's like credit to them and what they've done. Horrible season last year. Horrible start to this season. And yeah, wow. Luke Metcalf, the Warriors must just be praying that he loves Auckland and that they can convince him to stay. He's going to be a man in demand. He's been on fire.
Next one then, Cowboys against the Manly Sea Eagles, Jimmy, the Queensland Halfback Cup. It's probably not winner gets the spot. I reckon Billy's made his mind up. But Dearden, interestingly, is wearing the 7 for this game.
Yeah.
So he's officially now moving to the Cowboys halfback spot because Jake Clifford's been dropped. He's been told he can also look for another club if he wants to. And Purdue, the young kid, he was actually a half growing up. He played half for Queensland under 19. So
I feel sorry for Jake Clifford. He didn't start the season. They went with, was it Duffy to begin with in the halves to partner Dearden,
Tom Duffy, yep.
Yeah, Duffy rather. Because all the talk was about him. He came back in, he steered the ship, he got them winning a couple of games. And then, obviously, Purdue, who's a gun. I think this is a harsh call on Clifford. I really do. I think he provides a lot to that football team. Probably a little bit underrated. and undervalued. I think if you're the Dragons or another team that needs a halfback, you're saying we'll take him now.
Yeah.
If he's free to go now, I think if you're Jake Clifford, like, what more can he do?
Where would you go with Dragons? Maybe.
We'll see where's offering first, but the Dragons feel like you look at their roster and it doesn't have a depth of halves.
Well, would you rather King Tongia or would you rather Jake Clifford if you're the Dragons now?
That King Tongia's looked okay.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think you go for Clifford.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely you do.
Who have you tipping in that game though? Cowboys, Eagles.
I'm tipping points, but I just can't see. Manly are just, they're so frustrating to watch. I don't know how they regather themselves and go to Townsville and get the win. I just don't.
Saturday night, then Jimmy, Sharks, Storm. Sharks are sort of flying to the radar. They started a bit slowly, but they're starting to come good.
I'm liking the Sharks of recent weeks, but this is obviously Storm back to full roster. With
Full complement?
Full complement. That's exactly what I'm looking for, Charlie, with Harry Grant coming back in. Sorry, man, I just got a little bit distracted with
the beautiful Michael Chammas is here, just smiling.
We could hear him rustling at the door.
He just was on the phone to, I think, Mitch Moses just outside.
Yeah.
So you could hear, he was shouting in the hallway, so I assume it was
Yeah,
Mitch.
I know, very distracting. But yeah, Harry Grant coming back in, but this old rivalry between these two teams never dies. I like the Sharks, but I think the Storm just edged them out. Again, that pre-Origin game, Sharks, they won't have anyone in the frame for that. So nothing much really changes for them, but I can feel a big push from the Storm. Pre-Origin, bank those 2 points and then navigate the next sort of 6 to 8 weeks.
All right, then triple header Sunday. We'll rattle through these games because we got to start to wrap it up. But Broncos, Dragons.
Ezra Man back. Look, the Broncos for me, they have to beat the Dragons. They at home. With a lot of pressure on their team of recent weeks, they just have to get the win. They have to just find a way. If it's a scrappy win, who cares? Just get that win.
And then Sunday Arvo, Raiders, Titans. Kieran Foran's back, Jimmy, in number 14. He'll probably come into the starting team though, surely.
Yeah, there's no point in having Kieran Foran on the bench. He'll make a massive difference to that football team. We saw these two teams play at the Gold Coast Stadium not long ago. What was it, 4 weeks? Not even. Mate, down in Canberra. Canberra have had two massive games of recent weeks, but even with that, they'll have more than enough to get the Titans done.
And then Sunday night, love a Sunday night game. West Tigers against the Bunnies. Bole's out, Jimmy, because he is out with a knee injury. Big loss for them.
I know Terrell May's been the star of that forward pack, but for Noah Bole, he's bringing a lot to that outfit, and he brings a different style. He's a Nafahu White style player, very big, very powerful, very direct, where Terrell May sort of plays the longer game. You can't play like Bole does for 80 minutes. That's the point I'm trying to make. He is all in. He'll be missed this weekend. I've got big raps on that. I've liked him for some time. I've loved watching him play. Love how strong he is with the ball in hand.
I searched, what's funny you say that, after a couple of rounds he was going really well. I searched where he's from, thinking he might be a New South Welshman. He's a Kiwi, unfortunately.
Don't be unfortunate about nothing unfortunate about being from New Zealand.
That's true, mate. And Alex Johnston, he's back for the Bunnies as well.
That's great to see him back. This one is on a genuine knife's edge. Bunnies just,
okay.
Golden point job, Bunnies.
I like it, Jimmy. Great show, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure.
As always, Charlie. As always, my friend. We'll catch you all next week.